I love.
All right. Well, where was the new music and the new intro? It was supposed to be on there. He told me he put
It
it on there.
sounded like doctor's office or elevator music.
Yeah. There was supposed to be, it sounds a little bit like surfing music, but there was supposed to be a new intro
Yeah,
and stuff. And so I'm really disappointed because I thought he told me he put it on there.
it's all right.
All righty. Well, we are live, people. We are live. We're going to talk. There's no Paul tonight. I'm not sure. I asked him what I could say about what's going on with him tonight, and he hasn't got back to me. So I'm going to say at this point, I can't tell you what's going on with him. So we got Kelvin here. He's pinch hitting. He was pinch hitting as our third person tonight. You're going to see more of him, I think, in the future as our third person. And you know, we're going to see. We're going to see how that works out. And while you're, as usual, please go ahead and hit the sub button, subscribe, hit it now, hit it hard. Hit the like button, please. Just hit it right now. And also, please share it, subscribe. Oh, Paul's friend is gone. He left already.
Nah, shoot.
Yeah. The star of the show is Paul for him. Paul's a buddy of his.
I love working with Paul. He's so awesome.
Paul is funny. He's wit and he thinks quick on his feet.
And he's pretty. He's really solid. You know, he's very thoughtful about what he says. So
yeah, and he loves his Hawkeyes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get started. We got some things to talk about tonight. I forget what order I was going to do them in. We wanted to talk about the position groups first. And what we're doing is we're not comparing them to other Big Ten teams. We're going to talk about comparing them to previous teams, previous teams on the Hawkeye team. So, okay, let's get started with, let's just get started. Well, wait a minute. You got a public service announcement you would like to do first. Go for it.
Oh, well, I charge Dean for my services, and my charge is to always say donate to the swarm, please.
Yeah.
So,
okay. I'm going to type in the comments so people can see them, what's going on with Paul a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Maybe Paul needs bail money.
Paul unexpectedly, I can't type that. I'm not going to do that. Paul unexpectedly can't be with us. I'll mention it for viewers as we go on throughout the night. Get people that go in and out.
No.
Okay. He hasn't given me permission to tell you why he's not on the show tonight. So if he does while we're on the show and he's watching,
it's
in.
nobody's business. He'll tell people when he comes back. So
yeah, he will. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Let's start with the QP position. You know, I mean, we've got a really good upgrade to our quarterback room, but honestly, do you think it's better or worse or about the same as other quarterback groups that we've had?
You going first or me?
You are.
I'd say it's the best quarterback group in probably Kirk's era. As far as this, Gronowski's really good. Hank Brown's really good. And I think we got some depth, with Hecklinski. and Stratton can jump in maybe, but hopefully you only need two quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Somebody's probably going to get hurt at some point in the season, whether it's tweaking an ankle or a concussion or something, and you're going to need somebody once in a while. But that's my viewpoint.
Which is why Lester says even though Gronsky could run, he's not going to let him do that much.
We'll see. Hopefully quarterbacks sneak with it. 6'3", 230 pounds. I'll take them quarterback sneaks back in the offense. So.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't know much about Brown and Helinski, and we saw Stratton last year. Again, I want to remind everybody that Stratton is the only undefeated quarterback on that group. I just like to throw that in there to bug some people.
Yeah. Gronowski only won 49 games, so
I know it, but he did get a loss in there at least. I think he has at least one loss. Two. One was to Iowa. One was in a title game.
Two national championships and a Heisman Trophy of his FCS, whatever you call his division. Yeah. So anyway,
National Player of the Year. Okay, honestly, I'm not sure yet. My jury's out on whether or not this could be the best quarterback group that in the Kirk Ferentz era, and I'll tell you why. Because Kirk has always had, a start like a 2 to 3 year starter and a good backup as a sophomore who would come in and be like a 3-year starter. I think we always thought that the quarterback room, when we had Deuce Hogan and Joey Labus and Marco Lioness, we always thought that those guys were heir apparents, We don't know. The jury's out on Marco Lioness, but all of them have transferred and none of them have panned out anywhere. I don't think.
No. I could have overblown it a little bit, we had quarterback rooms that had Kyle McCann and a young Banks backing them up. We had Beathard and Rudock, on the same team.
And who else? Christensen, and who took over for him? Stanzi?
Tate. Drew Tate.
Oh, okay.
Drew Tate took Christensen's spot, I think, didn't he? Or did Stanzi? I don't know.
Whose spot did Stanzi take? Anyway,
I don't know.
All I'm saying is these guys, he's always had two great quarterbacks on the team. Judged by the quarterback controversies we've had in 3 or 4 seasons.
And when Brad Banks was the Heisman Trophy runner-up, we had Nate Chandler. It was a Chandler guy, was his backup, and he was pretty good. So I'm probably totally wrong. So
we don't have to say that. You don't have to say that. It's your opinion.
Well, after you think about it more.
Yeah. Probably. How about running back? I guess I can go first. Mm-hmm. Honestly, overall, when you look at this, the totality of the room, this might be the best room ever because we've always had 1 to 2 running backs that could just get the job done. But I feel like in this, we got 3 running backs that I feel like could jockey for position and all do well like we did last year. Plus there's some decent running backs waiting in the wings. If we can keep them all and not get them to leave, we should be pretty set for the next few years at running back. What do you think?
I think it's the deepest.
That's what I'm trying to say.
I think that the guy that's really the stud of the bunch, is a true freshman, McNeil. But and he ain't gonna play this year much at all, probably. But I
just want to know if Breven Dahl's gonna play at all.
I think he will. He'll be running down covering punts. You can't expect. I know everybody's crazy over him because he's a local guy and everything, but you can't expect him to. You can't. I know that, but you can't expect him to jump in over top of 4 or 5 guys that's ahead of him. I mean, that's just not how it works, So unless you're Ronnie Harmon, so then you jump over everybody at any position you want to play. But
I try not to bring him up. There are so many people that are down on him.
I just think
He took money and bribes.
I think people are all into conspiracy theories and they're too harsh. I agree with Chuck Long and Kirk Ferentz that people are way too harsh, and Hayden Fry. People are way too harsh on one of the greatest players that ever played at Iowa. But if we knew for sure that
on
something
Corey's
happened.
show. Yeah, Don Patterson, either on Corey's show or on Pat Hardy's show, said that he's convinced that Ronnie wasn't involved in all that because he saw how hard that guy was crying, that he felt like he cost them the game, and he was taking it personally.
But anyway, I'm not gonna judge Ronnie Harmon if I don't know. If you don't know the facts.
We don't know the facts. Okay. All right, moving on to wide receivers. This is your turn to go first.
Okay. I think it's the best depth and wide receiver room we've had, including the Hayden Fry years. Kirk's had some deeper wide receiver rooms, not lately, of course, but than Hayden did, But yeah, I think it's the deepest and best, in my opinion. But,
yeah, honestly, I think this is probably the best in a long time of wide receivers that we've had. I'm actually looking forward to see what they can do as a unit.
Yeah.
It'll be catching the ball by committee, so I don't know that anybody's going to get a lot of yards personally. I know that Kakert's out there saying a couple of them are going to get 500 yards each in his fearless predictions. Not his fearless predictions, but in another one that he did. 10 predictions.
And he's trying to be bold about it too, Not picking predictions that are easy. Like Logan Jones is going to be all Big Ten center. Well, that's easy.
That's an easy one.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to our tight ends. Oh, I didn't talk about the wide receivers, did I? Or did I?
I think you just said I agree with you that it's the deepest and the best.
Yeah, I think that's where we're at with that. How
the
about
the big bold predictions on wide receiver is like picking a needle out of haystack. Who's going to be the top two? In receptions and yardage. Who the hell knows?
I said wide receiver by committee because I believe that there are 8 that are going to play and catch the ball.
Yeah, I agree. We've never had that before.
No,
ever.
However, we have the tight ends next. I think this might be one of our most shallowest, below average tight end rooms. We have one tight end as far as I'm concerned. There might be a freshman coming in that's pretty decent, but he hasn't proven himself yet. But we've got one tight end. And when you look back, we've had so many tight ends before, like on the Laporta, not Laporta, help me out here.
Well, we had Fant and Hawkinson on the same team.
Yep. We had them.
But after you got by them, you didn't have.
We had a year or two where we didn't have much, and then
Sam Laporta was forced to play as a true freshman because we didn't have anybody. We had Sean Byer. That was the year that Nate Stanley threw to the wide receivers all the time, and he had 3 guys over 600 yards: Tracy, Smith, Marset, and Brain Cramp, the big guy from Mississippi. That was I feel so stupid. Can't think of his name. Brandon, maybe? Brandon something?
Brandon Smith?
There you go. All 3 of them had over 600 yards that year because Nate Stanley had to throw the wide receivers because he didn't have no tight ends,
Yep. That was like the one year where the wide receivers had more catches and yards than the tight ends. Usually at Iowa, it's always been around differently.
Yeah. But
okay.
My opinion is that the tight end room is at least average and maybe above compared to. There was years when all we had was C.J. Fedorowicz, or all we had was Moeaki. This year, We got Ostrenga, who's never drops a pass. He's going to be an NFL tight end. Orth is a good tight end. You got Hayden Large coming back, who's utilitarian. And we got a walk-on named Von Am, who just was really good as a true freshman last year in practice. And then we got Burt, who's also would be a redshirt freshman. So I don't think it's a big drop off. It just, we always think of that. Oh, we had Fant and Hawkinson both one year. That was like, 2 first-round draft picks in 1 year, which never ever happened in the history of football before. I'll quit talking now.
Okay. Well, this brings us to the last positions group, the O-line, where we're at with this, because this was a line that started to come together last year a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think personally, I think overall this line may not stack up there with O-lines of past of Kirk's. But I do think that the starting 5 are elite. They could all end up in the NFL. However, behind them, we don't have anything. We have a lot of inexperience, a lot of youngsters, and if the starters get hurt, Lord help us.
Yeah. I don't know.
My opinion.
If the starters, Doctorman claims that he sat with Barnett and talked to Ferentz, and last year's offensive line graded out blocking better than any offensive line Kirk has had during his head coaching tenure. And I think this year could be just as good as long as one of them left tackles.
Yeah. Did they tell you though that it graded out for running, but the passing blocking was not there?
I don't know.
The passing blocking graded out pretty bad.
Logan Jones didn't allow a sack all year. I don't know that. So I hear these people that aren't coaches, they say, "Oh, the pass blocking was terrible," but I don't know. I don't know that the pass blocking was terrible. I think this year Piper will be a upgrade. By the middle of the season, he'll be better than Colby was.
Yeah,
and
Pieper.
I think
Pieper, by the way,
Pieper from Norfolk, Nebraska, and I think Stevens will be an upgrade over Stevens last year, and Jones and Dunker will be better than last year.
Yeah,
and it's just honestly, that left tackle, and I see a lot of backups that Barnett or they say Mislinski's finally healthy, and Leighton Jones is good, and the backup, well, the 3 left tackles guys, Doetzler, George, and the great recruit from Colorado, what's his name? Anyway, he's the guy that everybody thinks is might start, and then the backup right tackle. I think we're going to be deep, but I would put it up there with. It isn't in the Alaric, Jackson, Linderbaum, Wirfs offensive line as far as maybe, but it'll be up there, I think.
Okay.
I don't have much worries about the offense, period.
I want to ask you, the center. How does our center stack up in that position compared to other years? I mean, we've had some pretty outstanding centers go to the NFL.
Logan Jones is probably second or third behind Linderbaum. The second, I'd say Linderbaum, Nelson, and then Logan Jones would be our 3 best centers we've had. We've got backup centers too.
Yeah,
Daniels could have made that jump up into that group if he just stayed his last year. But
I believe Malinsky and the other Jones are our backup centers.
And Pieper's a backup center too.
Okay, yeah. Do you know that I left
Lauk is the guy. Lauk is the guy. I couldn't remember his name.
Okay, alrighty.
And then Cannon Leonard's the big right tackle, 6'9", 300 15 pounds or whatever.
I think there's a lot of potential there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's move on from the offense. Let's talk about our punting unit. Days Dawkins, Rocket, Rise Dakin, right? Rise Dakin.
Yeah.
Rise Dakin or something.
I think he's plenty great. So anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I believe he's slightly still behind our previous one, Troy Taylor.
Well, yeah, everybody is. So,
but before Troy Taylor, we had we had another great punter.
Well, we had Jason. Kirk had two great punters, Donahue and Jason Baker. Both were NFL punters.
Yeah, I was thinking about the. He was an Australian.
We had Reggie Roby for Hayden.
Yeah,
that was about the only great. Him and Nick Gallery were the only real good punters. Hayden really struggled at punter, other than them two. But
yeah, I watched Reggie Roby kick for Columbus, not Columbus, against Columbus. I was at that football game and he beat us with his foot. Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Oh, you're talking about Waterloo, Columbus.
Yeah. And he and also he was kicking field goals in high school,
and playing defensive end and tight end. So.
Yeah, everything. Yeah, Reggie Roby couldn't go wrong. Waterloo lost a good one. Okay, so the punting unit's pretty good. How about the kickoff unit? Would probably be about the same as the punting unit, with Drew Stevens doing the kickoffs.
Great kicker. So
yeah. So who besides Weegan is going to be doing kick returns and punt returns this year?
Whenever I hear LeVar talk about it, he says, "Oh, we have a group of like 8 guys back there that are practicing each one."
Yeah.
The big thing about returning punts is the ability to catch the ball. First. Those are hard to catch. They're the hardest thing to catch on the football field is a punt.
Yeah.
But
you got to catch it first, and then you got to have good vision down the field, and then you got to have good breakaway speed.
So did you have some suggestions on who was punting and kick returning? Besides Weechen?
KJ Parker on the return, I thought, returner.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, I can't remember, but somebody was mentioned on defense as being a possibility. I can't remember who that was.
I don't know. I know that certainly on kickoff returns, I'd certainly have Brevidal out there with Weechen, I would think, when you're way faster than Weechen is. I mean, what did he run in high school? A 10-3, 100 meters, just a click behind Tim Dwight or something. So
yeah, I can't wait to see him get on the field in some capacity this year. And I wouldn't mind if they used him on the kick returns or punt returns, whatever they would decide to do. They always have at least 2 people back there, so it'd be nice to see who's going to be back there with Weechen this year.
Yeah, but I don't have a lot of bright ideas. Who's in that 8 to 10 guys he's testing out, on punt and kick returns, But
all right, well, let's go to the defensive line next. I'm not sure I'm convinced that this defensive line is going to be. I think they're the strongest of our defensive unit this year, and I don't think they're going to grade out like some of our other defensive lines in the past. But your opinion on that? What you watching?
I'm not watching anything. I would say our defensive line is going to be another one I'm very optimistic on there. I would say as far as depth and talent, They're way above average as far as Kirk's defensive lines. We're very strong in the early 2000s on defensive line and depth, but since then, not so much. And I think the 2 transfers we signed at defensive tackle, I think our 2 defensive ends are going to be elite, Herkett and Llewellyn. And but that will be my last position group. I'm terribly positive, going to talk greatly positive about.
Okay.
Anyway.
All right. Our linebacker core. What do you think?
Be way below average as far as historically in the Kirk Ferentz era and the Hayden Fry era. Probably way more athletic, but they're way too inexperienced right now. But we just know that Seth and Phil will probably have them cooking, and they'll probably still end up like the 5th best group in the Big Ten or something, because Iowa kind of dominates the linebacker talk in the Big Ten,
Yeah. Okay. So my opinion is I'm not real high on these guys yet, but we'll see. They might surprise me. However, does Phil Parker do more blitzes this year to hide the fact that we might be a little weak behind the defensive line? And have the linebackers come in and try to do a little blitzing.
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking you if you think.
I don't think with our defensive line with Hawthorne, Brian Allen can jump in the middle there and pass rush, and Epinesa, and our 2 defensive ends. Llewellyn's about the highest rated pass rusher we've had in a long, long time. He just has not been able to play. I think he'll get. Well, I'm going to skip what I'm going to say because it's one of my bold predictions at the end of the.
Okay, alrighty. You got him leading the team in tackles.
I don't think we'll be forced to blitz as much as we did should have last year, because of the defensive line's gonna. I truly think we're 7 defensive tackles deep. They don't have to play all the time like they did last year. It was pretty much Graves, Pittman, and Y.A. Black, and they had to play all the time, and that'll make a big difference. So, anyway.
All right. Well, I'm going to throw the all the defensive backs into one group. That includes the cornerbacks, the safeties, and everything. And so, honestly, this is probably the weakest that we've been at this position for a long time. Unless T.J. Hall and what's the other cornerback's name? Unless they grew up and got mature enough to handle catching, not to get burned over their heads again. Because they got burned a lot last year.
Paul and Deshaun Lee seem to be the starters, but we don't know that, But I think it's about one of the weakest defensive back groups. Kirk had a very weak defensive back group his first year or 2 at Iowa, but
we know how those records turned out.
Bobby Sanders turned out pretty good. And they had a couple good guys. Sapp was in there until he got kicked out of school or whatever, and stuff. But it just wasn't a great group. But there's sure a lot of potential in this group. But they're young, so
they need to work hard, step up, listen to the coaches, listen to each other.
And I think
by all means, I can see it already coming against Iowa State. Is they're going to try to go over their heads again. They're going to test them and see if they improved or not. And I would do that if I was a coach and quarterback. It's like, let's do it. We saw what happened when we burned them last year.
I heard Phil Parker give an interview, whether it was with Chad or who it was. You probably remember who did the interview. And then I heard T.J. Hall do an interview. And they both said the same thing. They asked Phil, what happened last year? He said the guys were too confident in their skills, and they decided to do their own thing, which meant they were playing too much press coverage. Oh, I'm great. So and the only guy we had on the team last year that could play in the secondary, Deshaun Lee can kind of play it. He's kind of quick. But Jamari Harris is the only cover guy we had.
I'm still mad at him.
I know you're mad at everybody, but I mean, Jamari Harris gave us 6 really good years at Iowa, and
we might have won the UCLA game had he played.
He did play in the UCLA game.
Did he?
He made the tackle on UCLA, went it on 3rd down at the end of the game, and Jamari made the tackle, but the guy got the first down by like 6 inches. But Jamari, it was later that Jamari, said he had, Kirk said he had hardware in his leg and needed to get ready for the NFL draft and blah, blah, blah. Whatever happened. But anyway, what I'm saying is this is what TJ Hall and Phil Parker said. And TJ Hall said, I got to play the defense like I'm supposed to play it, which means a little softer coverage. Keep the guy in front of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they're going to work their way down the field, make it 7-yard passes.
Yeah. The only pass I'm giving him for last year is that Iowa State had those NFL receivers catching the ball over our heads.
That don't matter. I mean, probably all the Big Ten teams we play, and Iowa State again this year, will all have wide receivers that run 4.5 40s, 4.4 5 40s. About everybody has them. Albany and that other team we're playing, probably won't. But
all right,
but you can't press everybody because you're going to make your safeties crap their britches. When
right,
two guys
before we move on, because we're going to move on that to our predictions next. I think this is worth talking about, even though it wasn't scheduled. D. Hink wants to know about Trey Thompson and that recruit. What can you tell us about him?
He was a number 59 in the 2026 class, 6'8", 220. He's very much what McCollum, Purdue, Love is, a skilled guy who is very tough, and has skills out on the perimeter and passing. Ben McCollum likes a European offensive type guy, in his bigs even, and as Dean knows, the Tennessee websites, today the Kansas websites, and yesterday the Purdue websites, the fans are just mad as hell. They say Iowa cheated and everything to get.
First, I want to respond to that.
They think we gave them money or something. Which
I know that they're saying that.
Brand Heydrichs did say yesterday, Beth sure is good to Ben McCollum. He said you got to give Beth credit, So, and Ben said they did have money left over. So, but anyway, we got him in. He wanted to go to school early, reclassify and go. Purdue said he'd have to redshirt. Well, that didn't sit well with him. Iowa,
is that the only reason why we beat out Purdue is because they wanted to redshirt?
Well, Purdue was his favorite, everybody says, but Purdue and Tennessee. But that's all I know. We sure got a good one.
Two schools that are doing really well in basketball year in and year out. And so, I think that's a huge win, beating out both of those schools. And as far as McCollum showing his true colors and him and his staff being cheaters, did anybody ever talk about Matt Painter and the cheating that he's done over the years and the negative recruiting he's done against Iowa?
Matt Painter knows that there was no cheating, And
I know the fans.
This is just fans that talking on the internet, which Iowa fans are some of the dumbest people on the internet you ever met. They want Kirk Ferentz gone. They want all this shit. It's just crazy. But anyway,
but everybody gets mad when they lose a recruit to somebody else.
Yeah,
so, it happens. All right, Shall we move on
to our bold
predictions?
predictions? Our bold predictions?
I don't know how bold mine are. Mine are more realistic, I think.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know if mine
I'll do
are
my
or not.
first one, and you do your first one.
Okay, go ahead.
We're going to average 30-plus points a game this year.
I agree with that.
Goal?
I agree with that.
Increase.
I mean, what? I think we'll score 50-some points against 2 of our non-conference people. That gives you a good boost. So.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So.
Okay, what's your first one?
My first one, I'll go with one that, let's see. I'll go with, ain't going to happen probably, but I'm going to go with young Bell, the cornerback from Connecticut, who has good length. He reminds me of Devon Mitchell, who's one of the greatest that Hayden had. Anyway, he will not redshirt, and he will tie for the interception lead for the team with 4 interceptions. How's that? That's guy that probably won't even play. I was trying to be bold, you know.
All right. My number 2 is, I'm going to let you do your number 2 first, and I'll come in with my number 2.
My number 2 is the defense in every single category, because of Seth and Phil, and they're pissed about last year, will have, in every single category, will have better stats than they did last year. Points per game, yards per game, big plays, turnovers, sacks. So that's my prediction.
By the way, sacks is part of my thing coming up, but I'll get to it when I get to it.
Me too.
My number 2 is Wetjen gets 3 either kickoff or punt returns for touchdowns.
Yeah.
I wanted to get more, but I wanted to be realistic. They're hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
All right. My third one is the quarterback spot, because we don't know who's going to actually be starter. We presume it's Gronowski, but we don't know if he's going to stay healthy. So I'm going to say the quarterback position gets a combined 2,000-plus yards this year. First time in a long time. I think the first time since 2019. What do you think?
I think that's a given.
So you think that was too easy, huh?
Yeah, 2,000 yards. That's only if we play 13 games, 2,000 yards. That's only like 140 yards a game or something.
Yeah. Hey, you guys watching out there, if you want to give us your bold predictions or just a realistic, serious prediction, go ahead and throw them up there for us in the comments. We'd love to share them with everybody. Okay.
Are you ready?
Your number 3 is
Llewellyn gets 12 sacks. This is including bowl games. Llewellyn gets 12 sacks, and Herkett gets, he gets 12.5 sacks. Herkett's is 7.5. So they combine for 20 sacks just from the defensive end position in 13 games.
Okay. So
last year we didn't get very many sacks.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go with number 4. This is going to kind of be a little bit different, but I'm talking about sacks from the defensive end, but I'm talking about Epineza.
Yeah.
He's going to blow his red shirt, and he could lead the team in QB sacks. So, but, he will be a backup. He will be a backup whether he earns a starting. He'll have to earn a starting spot in order to do what I want him to do.
Yeah, he is not going to redshirt. So,
yeah.
I don't.
All right, Hink says 2 wide receivers will have 800-plus receiving yards.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Do you think we'll Hey, Hink, do you think we'll feature 2 wide receivers enough for individually with all of them that we got, or not?
There you go. That'd be kind of cool.
Because that's my problem with that, because I think we're going to throw the ball a lot more this year. But
I think we are, too. I think we're going to throw a lot more.
While we're waiting on Hink, I'll give you my last one, which I already told you earlier in the day. was it, and this is not going to happen, but at the end of the season, Lester goes to the NFL to be an offensive coordinator in the NFL.
Yeah.
Either
and
to
you
the
saw
Dallas,
what I said back to you.
You said, "Oh no, we can't. The sky is falling," which just is not going to
No, I
happen.
didn't say the sky's falling. I said no. All I did was type no.
I think Lester wants his family to be in Iowa City and grow up as kids and everything, and I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah. I
And
wouldn't want him
the
leaving.
NFL has plenty of offensive coordinators that know this system.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't want him to leave after 2 years because I don't want to have us to start all over again.
I don't think it's going to happen, but it was a bold prediction.
Yeah, it is a bold prediction. Okay. Special teams will be Iowa's top unit, which which I think and they will score 5 touchdowns this year. The special teams will.
Cool.
And
well,
of course that means I already have Weegen because he's a special teamer scoring 3. So I guess I only got the rest of the special teamers scoring 2.
Well, I was going to say if they score 5, I was thinking Wetchin would have to have 4 of them. Otherwise it'd be like a block punt for a touchdown or something. But
yeah, he's Gill and Seth Anderson and sprinkle in Sam Phillips for wide receivers. Hink, God, can Seth Anderson stay healthy long enough? I don't know if we really know what he's got because he never stays healthy long enough.
So does Hink have 2? Okay. So did he answer my question whether we'd have 2 featured ones that would?
Yeah, he's saying Gill and Seth Anderson with a little Sam Phillips sprinkled in.
I think Vanderzee will be very well featured. They said he is so good this year in practice. But anyway, we'll see. Hey, Dean, can I ask you a question?
Go for it.
Remember this morning when I told you I had 4 predictions that didn't have anything really to do with the Iowa football season and one about men's basketball?
Yes, now would be the time to reveal them.
Okay. My first one is that, of course, everybody knows Kirk's going to break the record for wins in a Big Ten. My prediction is that 3 current Big Ten coaches will eventually break that record. James Franklin, Mr. Dan Lanning at Oregon, and Ryan Day will all stay at those schools, and they're going to average 14 or 15 games a year now that you have playoffs, and they will easily break. Well, not easily because they're going to have to stay 20 some years, but they will break that record.
That's kind of like how Kirk's breaking it because, he's doing it in an era where they're playing 12, 13 games a year. Where the others did it in 11-game era.
Well, Hayden usually played 12 every season. He went to a bowl game most years. But Kirk's been playing about 13 most years. But anyway, but the thing that more impressive about Kirk than them other 3 guys I picked was Kirk wasn't born on third base. Iowa is not Penn State. Iowa is not Oregon. And Iowa certainly isn't Ohio State, where you're pretty much guaranteed a 9 or your poor seasons are going to be 9-win or 10-win seasons. Like Ryan Day was on the precipice of being fired last year. If he'd have lost in the first round of the playoffs, he was gone. He
saved his job by winning the national championship.
Then my next prediction is men's basketball, which somebody on 3 said I didn't think I was right today. They were talking about how many more season tickets and how much more attendance will be at the men's. I said they will sell out this year.
I'm going to go with you on this one.
Last year they had 10,000 season ticket holders buy tickets. This year, I think, the boosters wanted him fired. I'm sure Beth said to him, okay, we're going to get a new coach. I need a bunch of money to put into the men's basketball program, and I need more season tickets and attendance. And I think the average fan is so excited every week there's more excitement, and Trey Thompson, put it over the brink again this week. I think they'll sell out, which everybody on the On3 thread, nobody agreed with me, but
yeah, by the way, I read a headline. I didn't read the story to go with it, but it said that Ben McCollum has put the Big Ten on notice by landing Trey Thompson.
I think Ben McCollum put Big Ten on notice with his past track record and how much all these coaches around the nation respected him. They were calling him at Northwest Missouri State to ask him, how do you coach defense? How do you run that offense? So my next prediction was, of course, this year, Iowa will go to a bowl game. Might not play an SEC team, might not have as good a season, but Kirk will win the bowl game, which will break the Big Ten record for bowl wins. And my other prediction is that PJ Fleck will quickly break it in a few years, because PJ Fleck always goes to weaker bowl games and he wins a bowl game about every year. So
yeah. Okay.
My last prediction, then I'll shut up.
Okay, all right. I was going to back up on some of Hank's comments. He's made some good comments, but go ahead. Finish your last prediction.
Oh, I already used it in the Leicester to the NFL. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm done.
So Hank says Tom Izzo has to be remembering him saying we need to keep Fran. That didn't quite make sense to me, but I know what he's saying. He also said we needed to keep. Has to be feeling okay. But Tom Izzo also said that about Licklider, that we were foolish to get rid of him, that we had a good man. But Izzo wants anybody that he can beat. If he can.
I don't think any fellow coach is not going to support another fellow coach.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they got some grudge against him. And Fran and Izzo were very good friends.
Yeah. All right. Hank wants to let you know that he doesn't think we'll sell out, but it could be close. Okay. All right. He's talking about Vander Z being more of a red zone receiver. Will get a lot of touchdown catches, but not a lot of yards. Okay.
Might be true.
Okay. All right. Alrighty. So I just want to go a couple more things, and then we're gonna have some other fun stuff I want to work on. Kaker put out an article on On3 today, and I'll give him credit. I don't want to be accused of coming up with this information on my own, because this is from his article, and it's called his Fearless Prediction, which he does every year. He goes game by game and gives Iowa's record.
No.
He has Iowa losing 3 points to PSU, and we didn't get blown out. I think it was 24-21 that he predicted. He has us beating Oregon 20-13.
Yeah.
Okay. But losing to USC 27-17, because he's bought into the fact that we can't play on the West Coast unless it's something like San Diego.
Well, unless it's a bowl game, he said.
Yeah,
a neutral bowl game, he said.
Yeah.
So
I just thinking that we're feeding into that notion of the West Coast problems, and I think let's just leave it alone. Let's just not talk about it. Don't jinx the team.
Yeah, he had Iowa going 9-3, losing to Nebraska, I think, in the last game.
Yep, by 1 point.
Yeah. I think nine wins is possible, but boy, that's a hell of a schedule we're playing this year. Yeah.
It is. The fact that in order to get to 9 wins, we need to beat Oregon. Yikes.
Yeah. You know me, I hate predicting Iowa games because there's too much injuries go into it and everything. If our offensive line all got injured like it did a couple of years ago, I mean, it'd be really hard to survive.
In the past, it's been easier to predict Iowa's record because we always win a game we're not supposed to. We always would lose a game we would not supposed to, so they'd balance out. So if you said 9-3, in that thing would be a game we shouldn't have won, and we lost a game we shouldn't have. So it would still come out the same.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So somebody put out Big Ten bowl projections. Here, I just thought this was kind of interesting. All right. Oregon into the playoff as the number 9 seed versus number 8 LSU. In the quarterfinals, Ohio State number 4 seed versus Texas number 5 seed. And number 2 Penn State versus number 7 Alabama. Only 3 Big Ten teams would make the playoffs. 3 SEC teams made the playoffs, according to the prediction. 3 ACC teams, 2 Big 12 teams, and the group of 5, Boise State, which, they're always the darling of because they always pretty much dominate the West. That'll be interesting to see when they move into the Pac-12 conference, how they continue that dominance.
Where do they have Notre Dame classified at?
Oh, I'm sorry. I put Notre Dame. I did that myself. I put Notre Dame with the ACC teams, not as an independent.
Because they're an ACC basketball team.
Yeah. Okay. And they play they're committed to 6 ACC games, football games a year too. So in my opinion, they're ACC. They can call them whatever they want, but they're ACC. Okay. I mean, people might do that, but they put out the Big Ten bowl projections for the other thing. Would you like to know where Iowa's predicted to go?
Well, I know where they predicted because Kakert he said, no way, no thanks. But
Yankee Stadium, Pinstripe Bowl.
Pinstripe Bowl.
Yep.
He don't want to go there because he don't want to get cold.
Yeah, that's cold. Iowa versus Pittsburgh.
Any bowl game's a good bowl game, like Hayden Fry said, except for the bowl they put on top of his head to cut his hair. Because that's extra practices, and you never know. You might go to the Pinstripe Bowl, and with this darn warmer weather we have, the weather might be good, but anyway.
I hope they take a charter flight into there.
But I don't think we're going to the Pinstripe Bowl. We're going to do better than that. So
we got to do better than if we make the Pinstripe Bowl, it's probably a 6-6 season or something. That's like low man on the totem pole.
Yeah.
Well, not quite. Michigan State against Buffalo at I never heard of this, Game Above Sports Bowl.
No.
Never heard of it. It's in Detroit. I'm assuming that's at Detroit Bowl.
There's a couple bowl games that are not Big Ten bowl games, but Big Ten teams like Oregon, Washington, UCLA, and USC can go to because they're old Pac-12 bowls.
Yeah, the legacy Pac-12 teams still have that contract they can play in which brings us to
two Big Ten teams could play each other.
And that's exactly what's going to happen, according to this prediction. Nebraska versus Washington in the Vegas Bowl. I would love Iowa to go to the Vegas Bowl. Then I can get in the car and go see it.
I'm sure a lot of people who like gambling want them to go there too. But
yeah.
Anyway.
But let me read you some of the other ones. Guaranteed Rate Bowl is Minnesota versus TCU. I believe that's in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
Indiana versus Texas A&M in the Reliquist Bowl. Isn't that one of the 2 Florida bowls that we like to go to every year?
That would be where the top 2. I think the top 2 Big Ten teams that don't go to the playoffs would go to. That would be one of the games they go to.
Yeah, I think it's the former Outback.
Well, they must think Indiana's going to be in the top 5 in the Big Ten.
And they got Michigan there too. Michigan going versus Florida in the Citrus Bowl.
Mm-hmm. By the way, I don't have Indiana or Michigan in my top 5 in the Big Ten. I'll tell you that. Ugh.
Oh, did you want to give us yours? Okay, hang on for a second.
Well, you said we were going to do the Big Ten standings.
Yeah. USC versus K-State at the Alamo Bowl. Now, that's all the Big Ten teams. I believe that's 12 or 13 teams I counted up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Plus, 12 teams altogether going to either a playoff or a bowl game. Notably missing from that list would be Wisconsin.
they're not going to be any good this year because they got the worst schedule in the history of mankind. Mm-hmm. If an SEC team played Wisconsin's schedule, they would commit suicide before the season started. So,
yeah. Okay, the Outback Bowl is now the Citrus, according to Hink. Okay. Thank you, Hink. I appreciate you guys. I mean, you guys really come through for us on these things. Do we want to do the quarterback rankings of the Big Ten? I got them right here in front of me if we want to.
And if you want to, they had Iowa way too low, I thought.
Yeah. I will say, okay, Drew Eller. A lot of these quarterbacks I've never heard of before, and some of them haven't even thrown a pass in college yet, and they're up there high. But okay, Drew Eller, number one. I mean, I don't disagree with that. I would give him that spot easily.
Well, he's going to be one of the top 3-4 quarterbacks in the Big Ten, no doubt about it.
Yeah, Julian Sayin, Ohio State.
Unproven.
I've heard his name before, but I don't know anything about him.
Unproven, but he's playing. Whoever the Ohio State quarterback is going to throw for 1,500 more yards than the Iowa quarterback.
Yeah.
And they got the best wide receiver core in the United States.
Yeah. All right, then we got Luke Altmaier at Illinois.
Really good.
We haven't played him at all. We don't get to play him again this year at all. So we've missed him 2 years in a row, so it's probably a good thing. He's probably moving on, I hope.
He was super last year, so he come back for a 5th or 6th year.
Yeah. Nico Amaliva.
We played him in Tennessee. He was a Tennessee quarterback.
Yeah,
got all the millions.
He just ripped us. He ripped us.
Now, I think Jason said at one point he was the top quarterback in Jason's ratings coming out of high school.
Yeah. So he's at UCLA, in case anybody wants to know, along with his brother. His brother wants to play. Why in the heck would he go to UCLA? Why doesn't he go to a school where he has
this will be Nico's last year, so his brother can play.
Oh, okay.
This will be his 3rd year.
Well, I'm just glad that we don't play him because we don't have to deal with him. Okay, number 5 is Dylan Raiola. Yeah, Nebraska. I'm not looking forward to him because he can only get better.
Well, we'll see. Better get better than last year, but
yeah. Well, he was a freshman.
He was a damn good freshman quarterback. Holy cow! What a relief he has. But anyway,
okay. All right. Here's what I don't understand. Number 6 is Bryce Underwood.
That's because he got $10 million.
Yeah. I don't understand it. How they can rank him that high without ever throwing a pass in college.
It's stupid.
Be a bust. It could be a bust.
It's one word: stupidity. I watched him play in the spring game twice. The Big Ten Network keeps replaying it all the time. He had one good pass the whole game, and that was a flea flicker for 97-yard touchdown or something. It was a trick play.
Okay. All right, then we got number 7, Dante Moore at Oregon. I don't even know who this dude is.
Unproven. He transferred from UCLA. I talked about him last podcast.
Okay.
But any quarterback that's at Oregon or Ohio State are going to be on the Heisman watch list because of their offense and everything they're around. But Dante Moore at UCLA he was a true freshman, but he was just, too many interceptions he probably had like 10 touchdowns and 7 interceptions, which is not a good ratio nowadays. But
all right. How about Jaden Mulvey? Mulvey at USC. I don't remember his name either.
Maleva, I think it is. If he's at USC, he's probably supposed to be pretty good.
Yeah. Okay. Just backing up to the Michigan quarterback and Bryce Underwood. Apparently, they brought in a couple of other QBs just for that very reason.
Yeah, they got a backup quarterback who's a transfer who's better than him.
Did they pay him $10 million too?
For this year.
Okay.
So they paid $10 million. I think he was. I don't know if he was from UNLV or some place like that throws the ball 100,000 times.
I'm sorry, I'm not convinced Michigan's going to bounce back this year, but we'll see.
Me either. We're going to do our standings here at some point.
Just in a minute. Yeah, we're almost there. Yeah. Okay, number 10 was Aiden Chiles of Michigan State, and he hurt us last year. I mean, he was like one of the worst quarterbacks in the league last year, and then we made him look like he was the number 1 quarterback in the league.
But again, it was his first year playing. Guys do get better, so he has a good arm, and he's good runner and everything. But yeah, I wouldn't have. We got a quarterback that's better than half of the guys you've listed so far. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, bringing us to number 11, Mark Gronowski at Iowa.
I
Only
think
11.
the only reason they put him there because that was his jersey number.
Well, he's more proven than some of those guys ahead of him.
Yeah.
I hope Gronowski just tears it up for us this
Well,
year.
where the hell did we skip Indiana's quarterback?
Oh no, he's coming up.
They got him below those freshman quarterbacks and stuff. That's crazy.
Yep, okay, yeah.
He's a really good what Lester loves, a natural thrower of the ball.
Well, at number 12 from Rutgers, we got Ethan
Calmanis from Minnesota. He's terrible.
Did he start at Minnesota last year and then left?
No, he played at Rutgers last year, and they got him to come back again. But he was like the Minnesota starting quarterback for 2 years, and Fleck finally got rid of him.
Okay, you want to know where the Indiana quarterback is? Number 13, Fernando Mendoza.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
What do you know about him? I mean,
he was one of the top quarterbacks. He was one of the top quarterbacks at California last year. He might have threw for 3,800 yards. They had to pay him like $3 million to go to California. To Indiana. And then they signed his brother, and now they signed Cash Herrera. But he's a
Cash
super.
Herrera.
If Jason was on here, he'd tell you all about Mr. Mendoza.
Okay. Yeah. Hank, I didn't catch it when you posted that. Who were we talking about when you said they aren't going to be good in Kinnick? Michigan State. Probably Michigan State. Okay.
I don't think Indiana will be good at Kinnick. Because goddamn it, I'm a Hawkeye fan. Go darn it. So
Northwestern at number 14 has Preston Stone.
Yeah.
Number 15 is Billy Edwards at Wisconsin.
Yep.
He's a transfer in, isn't he?
About all these guys are.
Okay.
Underwood and Sayan might even. Well, he was committed to Georgia and then went to Ohio State, I think. Aller was a high school recruit, but I'll bet you out of this list, and Raiola was committed to Georgia and went to Nebraska, but he's not a transfer, really. No, out of the 18 quarterbacks, probably 14 of them again this year are transfers. So
that could be, yeah. Number 16, and I stopped here. I didn't do the last two. Drake Lindsay at Minnesota. Does that mean Minnesota's not going to be any good if their quarterback is rated that low?
I don't know. You're just going to lose to Iowa is all I know.
Okay. Okay. Go through them and I will tell you.
Go through what?
I think he means the last
whether they're transfers or not.
Oh yeah.
It'll be about 14 out of 18. I'm just telling you.
Underwood and Raiola were high school recruits. All right, I'll just run down through them real quick. You can tell Eller.
Who?
Drew Eller.
Oh, Aller was a high school recruit.
Yeah.
Nawampa picked him off in the All-American high school game.
Luke Altmaier was a transfer.
Yep. From Mississippi or someplace.
Yeah. Dylan Raiola was a high school
recruit.
Nikolai Maliva was a transfer.
Yep.
Bryce Under. Dante Moore, transfer?
Transfer from UCLA. That's 4.
Okay. Jaden Mojave.
Leva at USC, I think he's a transfer.
Okay. Alrighty. Aiden Chiles, freshman
he's
high school?
A transfer. He come with the coach from Washington State.
Yep, that's right. You're right. Okay, Gronke's a transfer. Kikamanis from Rutgers was a transfer. We established that.
Minnesota.
And Mendoza was a transfer, right?
Yep, that's 9.
Preston Stone.
Transfer. That's 10.
Billy Edwards.
Transfer from Maryland. We played him last year. That's 11.
And Drake Lindsay. I don't have the other two down.
Oh. Who are the other two teams?
Purdue would be one of them.
I don't know. I don't know who Purdue's quarterback is, but he's going to get killed.
Who is the last team that's not listed?
Oh, don't matter. Anyway, we know it's at least 11. So.
Okay. All right. I want to give you this opportunity to name your rank your Big Ten schools in order.
Okay. You want me to just? I'll do the 18.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Penn State #1. I got Ohio State and Oregon tying for second. I got Illinois 4th because Illinois has got a fairly weak schedule and a good team with the whole offensive line coming back and a really good quarterback. Number 5, God's team, the Iowa Hawkeyes.
Okay.
Number 6, Washington.
Wow, you're high on them.
Washington, like Urban Meyer said the other day, since 1979, Washington has been a national power. You know, we all know that in the 80s and 90s, we played them, you know, and they were in the early 2000s too. They had Peterson was a coach and Neuheisel and we know they were in the national championship game 2 years ago. I mean, so anyway, yeah, Washington is 6th. 7th, I got a 4-way tie for 7th.
All right.
You ready?
Yes, we're ready.
We're ready. The easiest schedule in the whole league is Michigan, except for non-conference. Indiana is the easiest schedule. So they're in 7th. They're not the 7th best teams in the Big Ten. It's all about schedule nowadays. You know that, Dean. I like the old time. I like the old way where you played everybody in your division or conference.
Right. But why do you have them tied for 7th then if you got them that low? Wouldn't they be higher?
Because of their easy schedule.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
And then, so it was Indiana, Michigan, USC, and Nebraska are all tied at 7th. Nebraska has an easy schedule.
Yes, they do.
USC does not have that easy a schedule, but USC's they got a good coach. Indiana's got a good coach, you know. So those are my 4 teams that's tied for 7th. They'll probably have records of like 5-4 or something in the Big Ten. Maybe, yeah. 10th place, you got to skip to 10th. By themselves is PJ Fleck of Minnesota.
Well, you're not high on Minnesota and Fleck at all this year, are you?
Well, one thing you got to realize, 10th place in the Big Ten is the middle of the league.
That's true.
It's like when Hayden finished 5th, that's like finished 10th now.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed? Mathematically. Yep. And then I got 3 teams tied for 11th, I think. 7, 8, 9, 10. No, Minnesota's in 11th, and I got 3 teams tied for 12th. Michigan State, UCLA, and Rutgers.
Wow.
Whether they all go 6-6 and make a bowl game, that'd be pretty cool. You have 14 teams in bowl games.
Right now they got 12 predicted. Okay.
Well, I don't care how many they got predicted.
Okay.
You know? I don't know if these teams, MSU, UCLA, and Rutgers, I don't think they play. UCLA will probably have the toughest non-conference schedule. They'll probably play some good team. They always do in non-conference. But anyway, and then in 15th place is the Burrowing Rodents of Wisconsin. Way too tough a schedule. They're rebuilding again. Mm-hmm. They have Billy Edwards at quarterback.
They may have the toughest schedule in the league.
in the country, maybe.
Yeah.
Then in 16th place, the team that cannot play a game without a bunch of penalties. They have plenty of talent at Maryland, but they just give every game away. Every time Iowa plays them, they have 10 penalties and 4 turnovers.
The problem with them is they're a good offensive team, but they haven't figured out how to play defense yet.
I almost put this team tied with Maryland or above Northwestern because they got a bunch of very smart kids at Northwestern, and they work hard.
Mm-hmm.
They probably have a decent defense, but Maryland just pays their players too much, and they get too much talent, And then last place, everybody's picking Purdue because they're Purdue,
Purdue.
This year, if Jason was on here picking the games every week, I wouldn't have to type in the comments, "Don't pick Purdue," like I did last year. He picked Purdue like the first 5 weeks of the season. Then I got him to laugh, and I'd say, "Don't pick Purdue," and he'd say, "Don't worry, Calvin, I'm not gonna." So that's my standings.
Interesting.
Go ahead with yours, old Swami.
I don't remember what mine were. I had them. I talked about them a couple of weeks ago. I do know I have Penn State winning the Big Ten, followed by Ohio State.
Every prediction I see have the same top 3.
Yeah,
it's either Penn State, Ohio State, or Oregon.
I do know. I can't remember for sure. I have Iowa like 7th or 8th. I'm trying to be a realistic Hawkeye fan. Not trying to be drinking the Kool-Aid, 10-2, 11-1.
Well, you know me, I try to be realistic. But if you lose, literally this year, if you lose 3 or 4 games, you could be in 5th.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way it is because them top 3 are going to beat up on people, and anybody can lose.
I know I got Indiana.
Anybody can lose any day of the week.
Yeah.
Who the hell would ever thought? Who thought last year UCLA would lose Nebraska would lose to UCLA. Iowa would lose to UCLA. We thought UCLA was like the worst team in the Big Ten last year going into
I predicted that they were going to be one of the worst teams in the Big Ten at the beginning of the year. I had Iowa beating them, but I also had Nebraska beating them. Mm-hmm. So I did not think that UCLA would end up with a winning record, or I thought I had them maybe 6-6 or 5-7, somewhere in that category. I remember.
Yeah. I wouldn't have UCLA with a winning record, but anyway,
not this year. I don't think. Although that quarterback, we'll see what he can do for them.
I'm disappointed you didn't have your standings for me. So. Anyway.
Well, I've been throwing my notes away, and I should have saved it. But I've been doing my notes, getting everything written down, and then I throw it away so I can keep my desk clean.
Yeah. When you told me today, when I was kind of, again, thrust in here, I didn't know I was going to be on, and you said, well, you can give your Big Ten standings like that. Yeah. You want me to give you Iowa's record?
Give it to me.
Okay.
Give it to us.
All the time I've been saying 8-5, but I'm going to go with 9-4. So
9-4. So you're predicting
I had them.
Bowl win or bowl loss?
I've been having them going 7-5, and then Kirk winning a lesser bowl. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to go 9. I'm going to go 9-4 just to because I'm a Hawk fan, I guess.
I would be okay with 9 or 10 wins. If we could get 9 wins, I'd be happy. But I don't pick bowl games because I don't know where we're going and who our competition is yet.
I know. I just know we're going to play a bowl game, and I know if our record isn't great, we won't be playing, Alabama or somebody, unless Alabama's very disappointing this year. But I don't think they will be.
It'll be interesting. It will be very interesting to see where Iowa's season goes and where bowl game that leads them to.
I laugh when you go, "Oh, I'd be happy with 9 or 10 wins." Good God, Hayden won 10 games like twice.
Yeah. Well,
It's like
okay, I know where you're kind of going with that because I want them.
eight wins is
I want them to get to the next level.
well, good luck
Playoff
with that.
level. Okay.
Like I said earlier in the show,
we're
Ryan,
not built for that yet.
yeah, Ryan Day, we will never be known for that unless we got some coach that was like God or something. And he's not going to stay at Iowa long enough unless he's an Iowa guy. But if Bobby Stoops would have been here, we could have maybe did that. But it's like Chuck Long said the other day, I was the offensive coordinator at Oklahoma after Mike Leach left, and I ran the air raid system. And he said, I was so successful because I had a bunch of wide receivers that ran 4.2, 5.40 and running back and a bunch of quarterbacks. He goes, I go to San Diego State. I run the same system. And I win 2-3 games a year because he said in the air raid, you got to have speed on the outside. And he said, I had none of it, But my point is that guys like Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, Washington, Penn State, they're what I call born on third base.
Mm-hmm. But
if they don't win 8 games in a season, your coach is going to get fired for the most part.
Yeah,
At Iowa, and Hayden said this, I was born on first base. Hayden and Kirk has gotten it to the point where we're halfway between first and second. You follow recruiting.
We haven't made it to second yet, huh?
Okay. No. Well, you follow our recruiting. If we have a really good recruiting year, we're 35th in the country.
Yeah.
If every year Ohio State and them other teams are always in the top 20 and most times in the top 10 recruiting, and we just can't do that. It's impossible.
I just want to point out that Michigan and Penn State both went through some down years consecutively, not just one here or one there. They were consecutive bad years.
Yeah. Boy, their coaches must have been awful at that time.
They had to have been.
The Penn State went down there because, a third of their scholarships were taken away because of
That actually never really affected them that bad. Because
they sure the hell affected their record. They started going 6-6 instead of 11-1. So.
The guy before Franklin had some success for a couple of years until he jumped to the NFL.
He's a great coach. Bill O'Brien. He's at Boston College now, and he went to the Houston Texans, but he couldn't stand being at Penn State.
And did Bill O'Brien replace Joe Pa?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they had an interim guy for a bowl game or something.
But see, that's when Penn State went down in Joe Pa's later years because Joe Pa wasn't really coaching the team anymore. He was just watching his kids do it.
Yeah. I suppose Joe Pa's bad seasons were 8-5 or 7-5 or something.
So, yeah. I mean, they weren't the powerhouses that they were, and
Joe Pa was in a race with Bowden to win to be the all-time winning coach. Both them guys stuck around that long.
And Bill O'Brien, despite the sanctions against that team, was able to turn it back around again, and then Franklin took it to another level.
Yeah, I think O'Brien might only been there 2 years.
He wasn't there very long. Yeah,
I don't think he ever got it up to over 8 wins.
Yeah,
maybe only
Franklin
7
would only
wins.
come if
you
the
can't.
NCAA...
He couldn't with no roster. He was a good coach. With no roster, he just couldn't. They literally had 30 scholarships taken away or something. It's like you can't survive on 55 scholarship players on your team. So anyway, but what I'm saying is I was still between first and second base. Don't expect national championships. And the Big Ten is so much harder to win than when Hayden was here. Hayden had to beat 2 teams, Ohio State and Michigan.
Yeah, because nobody else had caught up to him yet except Iowa. Iowa was the first team to break through the Big Two in a little late.
Yeah. But anyway,
All right, we're gonna get out of here, guys. Thanks for watching. Another podcast on Sunday for sure. I don't know if there'll be another one coming up before then or not.
Hey,
It
one
won't
more
be
thing.
football related if we do.
One more thing I forgot
What's
that I
that?
was going to tell you. Did you know Darian Jones's dad was from Waterloo?
I did not know that.
The new super duper cornerback we got out of Omaha, Nebraska. That's why his dad's an Iowa fan. He grew up an Iowa fan. His brother Dallas is an Iowa fan and writes for the Hawk Fanatic.
What's his dad? What's his dad's first name?
I don't know. You can look it up
look it up.
all these articles.
He might have been in Waterloo when I
then
was.
his brother was a freshman at Nebraska last year as a linebacker. He's a Nebraska fan, always has been. And Iowa didn't offer him out of high school anyway. I just thought you're a Waterloo boy.
When they meet each other.
You're a Waterloo boy, and I just knew that you'd love it that this kid is his family was from Waterloo. So
yeah, I'll have to check into that.
Probably a Waterloo West or Waterloo East guy, but I'm not sure.
There was a Kim Jones who played for Waterloo Columbus. But he would be older than me.
So I think all these kids.
Maybe he's his grandfather.
I think all these kids their names start with a D, so the dad might start with a D too, but I'm not sure.
All right, guys, we're gonna get out of here, but don't forget to hit the subscribe button before you leave, and a like button while you're thinking about it. You're still here, so hit that like button and share it. Leave a comment afterwards and anything you see, and we appreciate you watching. We'll see you again next Sunday night at same time, same bat channel. Hopefully my new music is posted by then. I'm out. We're out. Thanks, Kelvin.